Power drops. People step outside. Vehicles stop. And in a low-lying coastal district, one question comes fast. Which way is still safe? After severe shaking, the place may look familiar, but it may no longer work the same way. A road that people trusted minutes ago can become blocked, cracked, crowded, or unsafe. A family can be split across two streets with no clear way to reach each other. A coastal neighborhood can turn from familiar to confusing in seconds. This is where a severe Negros Trench scenario becomes more than shaking. It becomes a first-hour survival problem for exposed coastal communities in Negros, Philippines. PHIVOLCS has warned that the Negros Trench is capable of producing a very large earthquake. A magnitude 8-level scenario is not a small local tremor. It is the kind of event that can shake wide areas, damage weak structures, break normal movement, and create coastal concern where tsunami conditions are possible. That does not mean it will happen today. Does not mean every place will suffer the same damage. But it does mean Negros cannot treat this source as distant, harmless, or only theoretical. We already saw what a huge earthquake can do. The recent magnitude 7.8 offshore Sarangani earthquake in Mindanao was not just a number on a screen. Buildings collapsed. At least dozens of people died. Hundreds were injured. Power and water were disrupted. Hospitals were affected. Students, workers, families, and drivers were forced into fear and movement before the full damage was understood. That was real. That happened in real communities. So when we talk about a possible major Negros Trench scenario, the question is not only science, the question is readiness. If severe shaking reaches exposed coastal districts of Negros, are people ready for the first hour? Not only for the shaking, not only for the warning, but for the first decisions. Where do people go? Who checks the children? Who helps older relatives? What happens if phones fail? What happens if the usual way inland is blocked? What happens if people wait too long because the street still looks familiar? This is the hard part. A place can look known but behave differently, and people may need to move before the place makes sense again. During severe shaking, ordinary spaces can change fast. Walls can shed debris, power can fail. Vehicles can stop where movement is needed. Soft or waterlogged ground can make shaking feel stronger. Low areas can become harder to cross. The problem may not be one dramatic collapse. It may be many smaller failures happening at the same time. A blocked path, a dark street, a damaged corner, a crowded exit. A warning that arrives while people are still trying to find family. That is how confusion grows. If one path is blocked, people shift to another. If that path is crowded, movement slows. If movement slows, families, vehicles, and emergency responders begin to compete for the same space. And in a coastal district, long or strong shaking raises another question. Should people move away from the water? The safest action depends on local guidance, local signs, and local terrain. But the pressure is real. People may need to leave low ground before complete information is available. They may need to choose safer ground while warnings are still being confirmed. They may need to act while the district is dark, damaged, noisy, and incomplete. That is why readiness matters before the shaking, not after. For exposed coastal districts, readiness must match the place. No more than one way inland. Know where safer ground is, if coastal guidance applies. Know where your family will meet if phones do not work. Keep a backup light, battery, water, basic medicine, and radio access. Do not assume the usual way out will still be usable. After long or strong coastal shaking, follow local evacuation guidance and move early if the guidance tells you to move. This is not fear. This is reducing confusion before confusion controls the first hour. No date is being claimed. No single outcome is guaranteed. This is a consequence-based look at what exposed coastal districts may face if a severe Negros Trench scenario sends strong effects into real places. The point is not to predict the day. The point is to see the pressure before the pressure arrives. The Mindanao earthquake showed the truth clearly. A 7.8 is not just a measurement. It is buildings, hospitals, power, families, children, roads, water, fear, movement, and decisions made before people are ready. If Negros faces its own severe offshore scenario, the first hour will not wait for perfect information. The ground may stop moving, but the hardest part may begin after that. People trying to understand a damaged place fast enough to choose the right way out. If you want more global geology documentaries that stay calm, clear, and grounded in science, subscribe to the channel.